Always the man of the hour, Sante. What's up, Sante?
I'm good, man. How are you doing? Great to see you.
Good to see you. You look better and better as I always say this, but it's the truth. You do look better and better every time I see you. I don't know what the hell you're doing, but whatever you're doing, like bottle it and sell it.
I appreciate that. I
Yeah.
That gives me just all the boost of confidence I need to go through the week, just knowing that Craig said I look pretty good going into this
Yeah.
this day.
That's right. Yeah, it's crazy, right? My word could just set the tone for your whole week.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Anytime. Hey, guess what? One thing I haven't told you before. Brand new in my life. I just started playing the ukulele.
Really? Did you just get
Yeah.
back from Hawaii or something?
No, it's been one of those things when last year when I was thinking about my goals for 2025, I wanted to do something different, right? Different experience. I always wanted to play an instrument. I think I'm a big drums guy, so I figured I wanted to play the drums. And my son has a set of drums,
Hmm.
and I was playing them like with him, like kind of having some fun. But I'm like, nah, I want to start like playing something like legit. So I got a ukulele for Christmas, and I just started, you know, tickling tickling the strings.
How is it coming along? Should we be expecting a solo album coming soon?
I don't think so. I don't think I have a solo album, or I don't plan on any beef with any other ukulele players anytime soon. Like
You could just
just to get
do a
some
bunch of cover songs.
cover songs. I should. Nope. I'm not gonna be playing any local coffee shops anytime soon. But I'll let you know when I do.
I appreciate that. Well, that's great. I mean, going into the new year, wanting to challenge yourself in a way that is very admirable. I followed in that mindset, not to learning a new instrument, which is a great goal because I am someone who is not musically gifted, but now I'm inspired to, maybe pick up the violin or an oboe.
That's
But
awesome.
the challenge for myself this year is I signed up for a fitness race.
Fitness race, like
Yeah.
a Spartan race.
So it's called Deca Fit, and it's the same people that created Spartan Race.
Hmm.
Yeah. So there are three levels. There's like Deca Strong, Deca Mile, and then Deca Fit. You do 10 exercises, and then in the fit one, in between each exercise, you have to run 500 meters. So it all comes out to you run about a 5K, and then you have to complete these exercises. So I felt like I hadn't really challenged myself in a while in a way that my effort was on full display, couldn't hide. All the work that I put in previously would be very apparent. So yeah, and we'll scratch that competition itch that I haven't had in a while. Tony
Yeah,
agrees.
I was gonna say, does that reoccur for you? Like, does it come up like not having that competitive uh thing anymore? Like, do you miss it?
I do. It comes up a little more informally. Maybe if I'm doing a workout at F45 and I'm paired up with somebody who's also pretty fit or pretty strong, like subtly, I'm in a way competing with, like, okay, how many reps is this person doing? Like, are they taking any breaks? So it's like subconsciously I am competing, but this would be a way to formally do that. And I really enjoy doing workouts like that. I had done a bunch of just really grueling workouts, and there is a huge satisfaction knowing that I can deal with pain and suffering a little longer than this person can, or I can get through some things a little faster than that. So I miss that, and I look forward to this competition.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, anytime you get a chance to challenge yourself, push yourself out of your comfort zone. I want to do something like that this year. There's an event going on in Atlanta in September. It's called the Running Man. I don't know if you've
Okay,
heard
what
of
is
it.
that?
It's Jesse Eitzler.
Yes.
Yeah, he has an event that he puts on in Atlanta where you like run straight for 8 hours, and he's got like I don't know. It's a pretty crazy thing. A friend of ours is doing it, and
Eight
it's like
hours.
yeah, it's like it's a pretty crazy thing. It's pretty ambitious, pretty crazy. So I don't know. Like I told you, like on our last time, like when we connected last time, I said, listen, 2025 is going to be a little bit different, a lot of it different. So I want it to be different. It's just something I can't. I don't want it to be a repeat of last year. I just
Yeah.
do not. If you go on autopilot, if I just don't do, if I consciously don't make active decisions on doing things differently, I will go back to default settings. And default settings puts me back to doing the thing. And not that it was terrible, but it's just I don't want a repeat of another year. Like I want to do something different. And there's some other things that I'm doing, so it's been good. But yeah, so
That really resonates with me. That was a little bit of an influence on why I wanted to do this fitness challenge. The challenge that I really want to do is High Rocks, but I want to do the Southern California one, and they hadn't announced that yet. And as opposed to just waiting until I don't know when or if they announce that they're going to do it, I found a race that's here in Sacramento and it's in May. So it's just far out enough to where I could focus on it. But I felt that the past few years definitely made improvements. Things have gotten better, but not drastically different. And then I really had to look at my own weight. Like I've kind of fluctuated within the same weight range for a while. So like even my body composition hasn't changed drastically one way or another in the past few years. So it's like this is something that will force me to improve my cardio, which I had never been a big runner. So this has forced me to get on the treadmill and run a couple miles. And I'm excited to see the progress of the process that I'm going through to get myself in the best situation for this challenge.
yeah, that's awesome. Hey, that's the key. And you know what? I'm sure knowing you, you'll love the process, and that means you'll have success.
I, I ran 2 miles straight at a very relaxed pace, but there's been a handful of times in my life that I've ran more than a mile.
Hey, listen,
So,
I've worked out with you before, and I've seen you in action, especially as like in and I'm using air quotes, competitive environment. Like, dude, you bring it. Like,
oh yeah, I bring the intensity. But I just have not had that formal like, all right, everybody line up. We all know this is a race. Let's go.
that's exactly what you need. All
Yeah,
right, cool. Hey, listen, I can't wait to hear more about that. That's gonna be fun.
yeah, I'll definitely document the journey.
Yes. Oh, listen, speaking about documenting the journey, had an opportunity to watch a little Netflix, and I caught the Aaron Rodgers Enigma series. And I
I
know
I watched
you
it
caught that
too.
too, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
So, dude, so I want to talk a little bit about that because I don't know about you, but like it gave me really a bit of a more of insight into him. Like I don't know if I was ever like obviously I'm a football fan, but I never was really an Aaron Rodgers person per se. But I didn't dislike him by any means. I just thought he for what he his career was awesome and what he did, and just an amazing athlete, but and an amazing person. I thought, but I really got to appreciate him. You know, seeing this whole journey he went on through this Netflix series, and I had watched a little bit of Hard Knocks. So I saw him on with the Jets and Hard Knocks, and you get a chance to really kind of, you know, find out a little bit more about them and their personality and stuff. So I kind of liked them on that, and then this kind of really was, you know, was really cool to see, and I enjoyed it, and there was a lot of things that I took away from it.
yeah, me too. My rookie year, I had the pleasure of getting to work out at Proactive, which was featured a lot throughout the documentary. So in the summer, my rookie year, I actually worked out with Aaron. We would do like field trip Fridays. So one of the times was we went to the dunes in Malibu. So it was like Aaron Bakhtiari, Von Miller, Clay Matthews, Whitney Merciless from the Texans, and Colin Kaepernick was there too. So I just got to be around him for a couple days, which was cool. But getting the opportunity to watch this documentary and really see life in the NFL from his perspective was very interesting, because very few people are first round picks. Very few people last more than 4 years in the NFL, and even fewer get to the level of fame that he has. So just seeing how quickly everything changes, and that feeling of you did the thing that you wanted to do, but you're only like 20 something, 30 something maybe. And it's like, well, now what? So that was a really interesting vantage point to see how he's had to navigate that. I could not imagine what it's like being that heavily in the public eye almost overnight. And I think a lot of people would make a lot of mistakes. And I think he navigated as best he could.
Yeah, agreed. And you know what? The thing too is like, man, agreed with all of that. And it was interesting just to kind of see him go through his process, talk a little bit about himself, a lot about himself personally, and his situation with his family and stuff like that. But a couple takeaways I really got out of that was, which I could personally relate to, is that he grew up in an environment that was very black and white, very rigid.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it, with his religious beliefs and stuff like that, of his family and stuff like that. And I found that like he was always that inquisitive person, like thinking like the kind of the like we used to call them the what if guys, like hey, like well, what if this happened? What if, it's like always questioning things, right? And just being inquisitive and just trying to figure stuff out. And I found myself a lot like that too. But I feel like when you grow up in a rigid environment, even in pro sports and in law enforcement or whatever it is, like when you're done with that, I think sometimes you feel like, and maybe his done was just not being in uniform. And then when he was in his personal side, that was his opportunity to be less rigid. But like when you're done with that, like you kind of don't like to be told or kind of force fed information or certain things. You like to be more of a free doer and free thinker, right? You like to be able to feel a little bit more independent and try to be like, all right, I'm gonna not question the status quo per se, but just kind of like figure things out for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Figure out your own opinions, what you like, what you dislike. Being challenged on things. I thought that was another cool thing that about the wanting to be challenged on things and see other people's point of view, which I thought was really interesting. And yeah, I was just it was, and we do live in a very black and white world. And he talked about the black and white, like it's either you have to, we in today's day and age, we have to pick a side. Like I
Yeah.
feel like everyone has to pick a side. You either whether it's politics, whether you're always picking a team. You're always I have to be on team Republican or team Democrat or team, Catholic or team whatever or team with this and team. It's always you get to pick a side. Like there is no. I feel like there's less like interconnection of
Yeah.
different views, right? And really, if you think about it, it's like that interconnection of views is what really is the secret sauce to solving a lot of problems, because people have an understanding of that people will have different point of views, but but you have one big goal or one big, you know, uh, most important foundational like agreement that's really important. Like so there was a lot of things that came out of it that I really had a better appreciation for him, especially going down to Costa Rica and seeing that whole thing happen, which I thought was pretty interesting too.
Yeah. I really resonated when you said everything is so black and white these days. Even in sports media, the two hosts just can't agree on anything. One can never concede that the other one had a good point. I saw this clip when Shannon Sharp asked Dan Orlovsky, when's the last time a Triple Crown winner at receiver didn't make it into the playoffs? And Dan Orlovsky immediately was like, oh, your brother back in 1992. And Shannon had to quickly be like, oh, no, no, no. And then try to defend it instead of just saying like, oh, that's right. But a big takeaway that I had was how important it is to have a scary goal. Watching his high school journey and him just knowing deep down that he wanted to be a Division I college athlete, had to take the JUCO route, but never lost sight of that goal and still worked to tirelessly achieve it. And one of the most powerful things in that was when he was in the second episode, when he was asking, like, who am I now? Can I love myself if winning the Super Bowl is the only thing I achieve? Just putting the accomplishment of winning the Super Bowl into that perspective of, if I only win the Super Bowl, what am I? And it's like, that is the one thing that football players who fall in love with the sport at an early age, like, that's the thing you want to do. But for someone to put it in the context of, like, only, I was like, it's such a small thing, which in the grand scheme of life, it is. But throughout a lot of our lives, with a lot of different situations, we make these goals so lofty. And once I get there, everything's going to change. And when you do, hopefully you have the opportunity to achieve everything you want. It's like, there's more to life after that. And will you love yourself past just that one experience?
Yeah, so I think there's two things that are really important to focus on with what you just said. The first thing is that I think that's why a lot of people, after they get done with their career, struggle with identity.
Yeah.
Because either they've accomplished that goal or didn't, but all their eggs were in that basket. Like, that was what was, goal number one, the goal, top of the hill, goal number one. And either you achieved it and maybe you didn't achieve it and feel disappointed, or feel like that there's a void, or maybe you achieved it and feel like, what do I do now? Because I still don't have that same massive goal. Right. So that's interesting. And here's another thing too. It's like, I don't know if you ever heard of, like, the self-sabotaging. Like, I wonder how many people intentionally self-sabotage their way to get to their goal, because if they achieve it, then there's the fear of not knowing what to do once you achieve it or after you achieve it. So it's like, hey, listen, I have this, my goal is, and I've seen this happen to me personally. Like, let's say your goal is to get fit, right? And to lose weight and be in better shape. And then all of a sudden you start seeing yourself make a lot of progress. You're dedicated, you know what the goal is, you want it, you start to see much progress. And then there's maybe a self-worth thing that you feel like, as you start seeing progress, like, no. Like, and this, maybe not intentionally, maybe subconsciously,
Yeah.
you just start going backwards. And it's like, wait a minute, you were making so much. How many times have you ever said this to someone or heard someone say this? You were making so much progress. Like, what happened? It's like, I don't know. Maybe there was some self-sabotage in there. Maybe it was something you felt like wasn't worth it, or you weren't worth it. So again, it's kind of like two things, like the identity part afterwards, once you achieve it. And then for some, maybe they don't feel like they're worthy of achieving it. And they constantly, like, as they get close, they try to self-sabotage them, making progress and ultimately reaching that goal.
Whew. Yeah, that I can resonate with that a little bit. It is hard to really change that identity that you have around yourself towards who you have to be to want to achieve that goal or maintain that goal as a new standard. It's like, I think a lot of times people see it as like, I'll do this, I'll do whatever it takes to get there, but then I'm going to revert right back to where I was, but I got there. And there's a difference between getting there and staying there and making that a new standard. I enjoyed hearing his teammates talk about his growth just from their perspective of, after they came up short the next year, how it seemed like he was not a dictator, but he was much harder on everybody. Everybody had a much shorter leash. He demanded excellence. And him saying, like, over time, as he started to do a little more of the plant medicine journey, how he had to learn to give people the compassion that he needed so that he could give it to himself. Like, you can't give to others what you don't give to yourself. And hearing how, like, Davante Adams mentioned, like, he became like a more loving, compassionate leader, still demanded excellence, but was not quick to just snap and how him and Mike McCarthy, even when they would have big, tough arguments or conversations, he would end it with, "All right, love you, big guy." So like that's just, it's really encouraging seeing that, like when you do work on yourself, however you decide is the best way for you, and there are tangible results that not only you see but other people also feel and recognize. Like I think that is important.
Yeah, and you know what too is that I think a lot of people like, especially when you're dealing and talking about leadership, it's not necessarily what you accomplish; it's how you accomplish it.
Mm,
So it's not exactly the goal that you're hitting. It's like how do you hit that goal? And I
yeah,
think that's really the most. That's really a leader, like a leader that really kind of like takes you along the way too, because there are those people out there that want to show you that they accomplished something good, don't share that information with you, or want to take you along the journey to do it, and really maybe feel more like I'm telling you, or need to point out. And he talked a lot about ego, letting go of ego,
yeah,
right? And I thought that was a pretty big thing too, is just like you have to kind of let go a lot of that. Doesn't mean that you're a lesser person, or doesn't mean you're less of a leader, but yeah, it's just maybe just kind of getting people excited to go on this journey with you and go through this process with you, as opposed to just, you know, telling people what you did or what you're accomplishing and whatnot.
yeah. He talked about that win at all costs. Like, are you willing to win at all costs, no matter what? And then it makes me think back to Michael Jordan, how they won, but it does seem like a large majority of his teammates hate him now.
Hmm.
But they won, and he had that kind of iron fist leadership style. Like, we are going to do it this way. I do not care how you feel. You're going to be a champion at the end of it, but like this is the way it's going to go. And maybe that was the best method to achieve the goal at that time, but it is encouraging. Like when I got to be around Tom Brady, and Tom was very tough on people, but there was like an understanding. There was a method. He wasn't an ass about it. He was very focused. He gave you the methodology. It wasn't like, this is my way or the highway. It's like, hey, this is why I need you to do it like this. This is why it works best like this. To make sure that we all understood, like, this is why doing it this way is going to help us get to the end goal.
Yeah, 100%. I used to, as crazy as it's going to sound, this comparison is like I used to have that in law enforcement, dude. Like you would wind up like stopping somebody, or having to question somebody, and I think a lot of times, like if you come off with ego and you come off with like this alpha attitude, people are going to resist. Like
Mhm.
whether they resist, for me it may have been immediately, or whether if you have a personal relationship with it, they resist by doing other things, like their quiet resistance, maybe I like to call it, right? Where they maybe just, don't align with you anymore, and then you kind of start they start to have this interpretation of you that they just don't want to see you as that leader anymore, or someone of authority, or whatever it is. But nonetheless, like you would stop people, and I found out when you explain people why you were doing what you were doing and why it happened, like people were more understanding, and they were like less likely to have a problem with you or have a problem with what you're doing. I think the majority of time people just couldn't understand. They're scared. They didn't know what was going on and needed some clarity. And I think putting them at ease was just by the way you communicate and the way that you deliver a message, and just explaining to them why you're doing what you're doing. I think really kind of solved a lot of problems, and probably kept me from a lot of problems.
Yeah, that's important. Having that understanding of why, and like letting other people know why, is helpful. I think another takeaway is how cruel the media can be. The whole situation with the lady who had cancer at the airport, how
Hmm.
they framed it as Aaron hates, I think one of the articles said like Aaron hates people with cancer or something like that. But he had met with the lady the week before, and they, he, I mean, obviously in recent years, he has been more in the media, the public spotlight, under way more scrutiny. And it's like a narrative gets set, and then the media just runs it into the ground. So that's unfortunate because people just want to be understood. And I feel like a lot of times he's done the best he can to try to explain who he is, but the megaphone's loud enough on the other side, like it just gets drowned out.
Yeah. And I think the more that you have success, the more people start to dislike you. That group of there's a large more group because I think people are I don't know if it's a jealousy thing. I don't know if they don't like to see people succeed. There's a portion of us that when people really do well, I think it becomes more of an internal thing too, because I think more people reflect on like, I wish that was me, or I wish why can't I do something like that? Why is it him? You know, they get into that whole game. And I think that, and the reason why I'm saying is because the reason why the media comes out, because a lot of people want to see, there's a lot of people that don't like Aaron Rodgers. There's a lot of people that want to see him struggle, see him fail, see him whatever. So when these stories come up, they know that they're going to get a lot of views. They know that it's going to get a lot of attention when they put out a story that he's out with so-and-so and doing this and doing that, right? And so obviously it's going to get a lot of clicks. It's going to get a lot of views. And it's unfortunate. One thing I thought was interesting is that, and I'll be the first one to admit this, completely transparent, and I've said this, it's like, oh man, this is what this guy signed up for. Like all that stuff, right? And
Yeah.
like I've said that before. I've 100% said that because especially when you see athletes get paid a lot of money to play a sport, right? And it's like, oh, but you know what? I like the way he put it. And I think he really kind of explains like, hey, listen, he goes like, this is just the byproduct of just something that I wanted to do. Like I just wanted to come in here and be the best athlete I could possibly be and win and hold myself accountable and put in 100% effort. And this is what came out of that. Like, it's kind of like he did not self-sabotage him avoiding the Super Bowl win. So he didn't have to deal with what came after him winning the Super Bowl, right? He just continued the path to reach his goal. And this was the byproduct of reaching that goal. Right. So it's like he was super famous. Now he's just getting snapped by the paparazzi when he was on vacation and he was dating all these high profile women, that people knew. It's just like, I thought it was interesting to hear it that way because I never thought of it that way, even though it seems kind of simple when I hear it, but it's kind of like, oh, this is what you signed up for. It's like, no, I didn't really sign up for this. I just signed up to come out here and play football and do the best I could and get my team to, the top of the hill.
Yeah. And what blew me away is just how quick it happens after he won the Super Bowl. I mean, I'm sure he was very popular when he would be around town in Green Bay. I'm sure he would draw a lot of attention. But to 5 months later, nationally, wherever you go, you have paparazzi following you. And really, you did nothing different. Like you just happened to win the last game of your season, which was the Super Bowl. And he won the MVP because he'd been playing very well. He didn't do anything different, but how significantly life around you changes because of that.
Yeah, interesting. And another interesting part was after he went into did this ayahuasca thing, which I thought was cool. It's interesting when he came back, and I didn't necessarily, I knew this kind of before I watched this, but how many people were interested in knowing what he did?
Yeah.
Right? Not like condemning him for it necessarily. I mean, there were people that did, like, in kind of like, like
in the media.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, 100%. But there was a lot of other people, specifically like other athletes, that maybe were just like, hey, I just, tell me a little bit about what you did, or like and not to mention he did go there with other athletes, right? So there are other athletes that kind of bought into the value of why I wanted to do this, right? So it was interesting. So yeah, it's funny how much like they could bash the guy, but a lot of people want to know what he's doing and what he's up to, and they realize like, especially his perspective on longevity and health and just being a free thinker and just and realizing the value of life and the time that we have on this planet. Like I had a lot of respect. I have a lot of respect for the guy.
Yeah, I have the respect about him just not caring what people think. I felt like that is a brave point in your life that a lot of people struggle to get to just, hey, this is the path I'm going down. Not asking for anyone's permission to do it. Don't really care about anyone's opinion on me doing it, but this is what I'm going to do. And with the public perception of him doing ayahuasca, like in the media, it became like jokes and all that stuff. I guarantee in athlete circles, like within the locker room, it was met with a lot more curiosity than judgment.
Mm-hmm. Hey, you know what? I want to ask you this. Why, if you've been given this gift of life, why do you get condemned for living it the way you want to live it?
Because people make a lot of concessions in their own life that makes them feel like they can't live their life the way they want, or they feel like they're tied down to an identity that they have to uphold in maybe like the public perception, uh, within their family, within their friend circle. Like they can't do the thing that maybe they feel like they really want to do because what would other people think? So to see someone else confidently doing whatever they want offends their own insecurities.
Right. And it's more like, hey, we're not supposed to be doing these things. We're not supposed to be thinking what we want to think and pursuing the things we want to pursue. It's always
But it's really I'm not allowed to do well.
right.
It's not
So
we.
if I'm
Yeah.
not allowed to do it, then
Yeah.
nobody's allowed to do it. And I'm going to be critical if you do it.
Yeah.
Right. Even though it's not your life to really criticize or critique.
Yeah.
Interesting. Like, I know it sounds, yeah, it's been going on forever. We're always, and just kind of coming full circle on that, like that just goes, that's the perfect example of why we live in this black and white society.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like you have to pick A or B, or it's either this, it's either red or blue, or it's whatever it is. Like, and it just, it stinks. It was just cool, man. I just really appreciate it. Made me think, which was the coolest part about it. Is like, I think I walked away thinking about things a little bit differently and just kind of had a different perspective on him. So,
Yeah. I got a little caught up in the media narrative of like how he's been selfish and all that stuff. No, he has done some things I don't agree with. Mandatory minicamp. I mean, you can't just skip mandatory minicamp. It, it's like 3 days. Dude. Of all, you could have skipped all of OTAs, but just go to mandatory minicamp.
well, especially as a leader too.
Yeah. So I get that at this point in his career, to him personally, it's not that important. But as a teammate, it's like, come on, dude. If you're either in or you're out.
Yeah, what does that really say? Like, think about it. Like, sometimes you could say things without saying things. Like,
Yeah.
I wonder what, like, the message that's sent right before you kind of get in the building. Like, and I wonder if it's like intentional or not intentional. Because listen, people are smart. Like, I'm sure there's so many things that go on behind closed doors that people don't know, and conversations that happen and things that happen. And
Mhm.
I think him not showing up to mandatory, you know, to showing up, one, being the leader of the team, two, like what kind of message does that send, intentionally or not intentionally?
Yeah. And then to see all the while he was making a documentary about it the whole time. So it's like, this was just for content.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I get, yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, that was my hang up when it comes to like you're the leader of the team. You are the starting quarterback and you're not at minicamp, you're not at practice. That comes with the job of being the quarterback. You are the leader. You can't really just take days off. You need to be showing up there consistently so that other people get an opportunity to get better with you, for the team to bond, build a little more cohesion. Like, you can't be
but what
missing days.
happens? So hypothetically, what would you do if you're the coach, right? And he comes to you and he says, "Listen, coach, I know I'm supposed to be there. I know I'm required to be there. I know I'm going to get fined if I'm not there, but I need to do this because in order for me to be the best leader for not just myself, but for everyone else in that locker room, I need to do this. Like, I'm going through some things that I just need to figure out. This is my vessel to do that. And I just need you to understand that when I show up, I'm 100% all in. I'm 100%. I'm in. Like, but I need to do this, and it's happening at a time, and I don't know if this to be the case, but it's happening at a time where it's conflicting with mandatory practice.
I would say, hey, I understand that this is important, but you know, right after this 3 day mandatory mini camp, you get like 4 weeks off. So, hey, buddy, can we move that a couple days? Like
And I'd be like,
right after mandatory mini camp, you get a break.
you know what, coach, you make a great point. I'll call my assistant and we'll reschedule that. How's that sound?
Please, just 3 days. You could skip every day before this. Just come to these 3 days.
So in the end, like, are you surprised, like, that the organization that, the Jets are as bad as they were and went through the turmoil they went through and had the season they had?
It's not surprising because it sounds like there were way more issues coming from the top down. I heard like the owner's son came in and was giving speeches in the locker room after the game and gave out a team ball to like that's crazy. So they had other issues in that organization. And a lot of these teams, the success comes from the top down. And when you have, I know you as a Cowboys fan have no idea what I'm talking about, but sometimes owners can get in the way, you know?
Yeah. Oh God, don't want to start that conversation, but yeah, 100%. And especially now for them because they're going through some transition, right? They're going to have to find another coach. And there's some right coaches out there, but those right coaches will never, in their right mind,
Go
go
there.
and coach because it's like it's like you want to put me in a canoe and have me paddle upstream, but you don't want to give me the paddles to do it. Like, oh, all right, like who would want to jump into that? So it's
I
a
hope
shame.
not Dion. I think all those
Yeah,
reports are false. I think it's just conjecture to be in the media cycle right now. I don't. I really hope Dion doesn't go to the Dallas Cowboys. I think he has a great situation getting to build up young men in Colorado at the college level, teach them what it's like to carry themselves as a professional, as a man, handle their business. He just brought in legendary University of Miami strength coach Andrew Swayze, who is the real deal. He will get that team right. So I think he's mentioned before his calling is to help build up young men, and he is in the perfect opportunity to do that. I don't think it makes much sense for him to go to Dallas. He wouldn't coach his son anyway there. So I really hope Dion's not going to Colorado or not going to Dallas. No.
well, you know what, Asante, you make a great point, but I completely disagree with you. He is hands down going to Dallas. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. First of all, it's going to take a very special person to be that coach, and I know who else it could be if it's not him. But I feel that Jerry is under the impression, based on what I've heard, that it's about what you've done for us, right? Finding that guy, like what have you given the Cowboys organization already that you want to that you're asking me to give to you and give you this opportunity, right? And he does that a lot with players, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking like he's got a good relationship with Dion. Dion's been in the organization, right? I think he realizes Dion could do a lot of great things for the Cowboys. And first of all, the attention that it would bring the Cowboys, which I'm sure Mr. Jones would love,
I know the
Dion
Cowboys are
brings to
really
the
lacking
table.
attention.
Well, listen, there's never enough attention when you think about like how you want to be successful with your organization because it just takes it just takes them from A to A plus plus, right? Because right now they're at the top of the hill. As
Mm-hmm.
far as like business success as a team, as an organization, I mean that just skyrockets you, right? And believe me, he's not shot. When the first person that gives a media press conference is the owner of the team, like he's not shying away from any attention by any means.
That's not
So
good.
there's that connection. No, but there's that connection, right? And I think if Jerry Jones would loosen kind of like the reins on a little bit, I think he can do that with Dion. Maybe not completely because it would be way out of his comfort zone, but I think he can do it with Dion. I think he
Okay.
can do it, and I feel like it would be a good fit. Now, for me, like everyone's saying, no, Dion's nuts if he does it, whatever. Listen, there's like I told you before, there's things that happen behind the scenes that we may not even know about. And the way the media goes, dude, listen, first of all, today would be a great day that Dion's the coach. Tomorrow will be the worst day. And then it'll turn out to be
Mhm.
the great day. So when he gets hired as Dallas Cowboys next coach, everyone's going to love it. Everyone's going to be great. He's wearing the cowboy hat anyway. So it's just, he's a perfect fit.
I I hear what you're saying, and I'm a little puzzled at your point that this 82-year-old man is about to start changing. I don't know how.
The reason
That's
I say
gonna.
that is because you realize at 82 years old that you only have an infinite amount of time, right? And then if you want to continue the same old pattern that hasn't produced anything, then you're going to continue the rest of your days getting the same result you've always gotten. But if you
He,
want to, if it's more important for you to see ultimately your team win, something's got to be different. You got to do something different. And at this stage of the game, here's an opportunity
mm,
that may come around not that often, not that often. Otherwise, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. You're going to get somebody else in there that you've had. It's going to be the same story, and it's always been the same story. He was tell he it was. I still laugh. At the beginning of the year, he said, "Oh, we're going all in this year." He
mhm.
didn't do anything. I mean, the complete opposite of all year, like of all in. Like if I could do the opposite of what I'm saying, that's what he did.
Yeah, I wouldn't be just shocked if somehow he made an offer that would be crazy for Dion to turn away. But I just think personally that Dion can make bigger impacts in people's lives who could use it, people who may never have an opportunity to play in the NFL. He can impact their lives in much grander ways than he would if he were the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
I could see that. I could definitely see it from like the Hallmark,
Mhm.
Saturday afternoon TV series.
That's what he's been preaching.
Yes.
That's
Yeah,
what he's been talking about.
I get it. But I don't know. I'm going to challenge the status quo. When the rubber hits the road, your son's not even in college football anymore. Here's an opportunity, a once in a lifetime opportunity to coach the Dallas Cowboys because whether it's still the Dallas Cowboys. So, I mean, come on.
Do you think Dion coaching in the NFL is a once in a lifetime opportunity or
No, no, not
something?
not in the
Yeah,
NFL. He'll get
yeah.
plenty of opportunities, but
Even for the
it's not.
Cowboys,
Oh,
even for the Cowboys, it's probably not once in a lifetime.
no, well, I mean, it may be. It may be.
No, once in Jerry's lifetime, but Steven may hire him after.
No, listen, who is hotter than him right now? Who knows what's going to happen 5 years from now? Like,
He'll still
we
be
have some
Deion
guys
Sanders.
hot.
He'll still be
He will be
Deion
Deion
Sanders.
Sanders, but he won't be Deion Sanders. He may have a bigger limp. He may lose more toes. I don't know. He may not be the same coach.
I
He's a
have a
great fit.
feeling. Yeah. All right.
Great
I
fit.
think I think the amount of people that would work as the Cowboys head coach is just Dion, so that's why he would be a great fit because he's the only fit. Because if it isn't him, you guys are up the creek with no paddle.
No, we have Kellen Moore as our backup. He's going to
Yeah.
come in, no
No.
questions asked. We'll create no waves. He'll come in. He'll be like,
Yep.
"Yes, sir, Mr. Jones," and we'll
Yep.
have another terrible season.
Yep.
Probably the rest of my days.
Jason
I'll never
Garrett
see.
2.0.
Oh God, it's just terrible. I don't know if it's just like I don't know whether it's like it's worse to be the fan of a team that's always teetering on the edge, like you're close to being good, but you're really not that good, or just a team that gets just crushed every year. Because at
Would
least going into every season, your team's gonna get crushed.
This is a good one. Would you rather be a Steelers fan who they make the playoffs every year, get bounced in the first round, or a Cowboys fan?
A Cowboys fan. Well, here's the thing. I feel like the Cowboys are right there. They're just good enough that they can't get a good draft pick, but they're
Steelers
bad
are the
enough.
same boat.
Yeah, so same thing, right? They're just good enough that they just get out of that window of getting a good draft pick, and but they're just bad enough that they won't make the playoffs, right? So it's just
But I feel like Cowboys fans always think that they are on the precipice of a Super Bowl, whereas Steelers fans have been jaded enough to know that we're probably going to go above 500. We're going to make it to the playoffs, but we're going to get bounced.
I'm part of the realistic Cowboys realistic club. Listen, the reality is that when you've seen a movie over and over again, like whatever your favorite movie is, you've watched it a million times. We've all had that, right? The ending's not going to change. Like you've seen it so many times, you know what the ending is. You know what the ending is. We've all seen this movie time and time again, right? And even when they make the sequels, it's the same thing. It's like, you know what? There's the good guy, there's the bad guy. They build this big Death Star in the thing, and the thing blows up at the end. The good guy wins. It's the same pattern. It's just different people, different faces, just the same thing. It's the same thing, and they call it original. It's not original. It's the same story regurgitated to make it look new, and that's pretty much what we've had. But unfortunately, like there's optim. Hey, listen, Jets are a perfect example. Let's come full circle with Aaron Rodgers here. Hey,
Mm.
Aaron Rodgers comes to the Jets. It's now we've had all these years of everything being awful. Now things are different. Like he's coming in, and it took what one series, and it was over.
That's heartbreaking.
It was over. Like, and then you think about like, I wonder if they really are cursed. Is there teams out there in professional sports that are just always doomed? Has nothing to maybe do with the leadership or stuff. Are they just doomed to always fail?
No, I think it's because of the leadership.
Yeah, I agree.
Woody Johnson is such a bad owner that 4 plays into the season, Aaron Rodgers gets hurt.
And you know what? Here's the moral of the story. You don't have to be famous. You don't have to have $1 billion to be a good leader. You could be a leader with a great leader without any of those things. Just because you have all these infinite resources and doesn't make you a leader. It doesn't make you a good leader. It doesn't make you a good leader. It doesn't make you a leader, period. So I think a lot of people get caught up in that. People get caught up in success, thinking now all of a sudden they could just like start leading people because they've had success. And in my personal opinion, that can't be any further from the truth. Just because you've had success doesn't mean that you're capable of being a leader.
Yeah.
Two different things. You got to be able to communicate, lead people, inspire people, and do things like. There's a lot of people out there, people that I'm sure that people experience in the workplace. We've seen it in the public eye and stuff like that. People who say they're leaders, but no, they're definitely not.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So, what is your parting message for the people today?
You know what? Party message is go out there and live and enjoy your life. Like challenge the status quo. Like do the things that are going to make yourself happy. Don't tell anybody or don't have anybody tell you what you can or cannot do because it's what they think is right or wrong. Don't let anyone direct or tell you what you can or cannot do because they fear it. Not because you fear it, because they fear it. And just go out there and live your life and have some fun because in the end this is supposed to be fun. We're going to deal with enough stuff that's going to come with in life that's going to be real shitty. Like when you're not going through those shitty times, make sure you stuff it with about a bunch of fun stuff.
Like it. I like it.
Hey,
And I'd say just continue to challenge yourself and set a goal that is scary but will force you to bring your best foot forward.
yeah, make sure you put your foot forward.
Yeah.
Hey Sante, it's great to see you. You look good as always. Again, any tips you could throw my way, please throw my way. I feel like going in the opposite direction, but
Hey,
nonetheless, I feel younger when I talk to you.
You look great. You look great.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Got a fresh cut today, so that's all it takes.
I need to trim and shave.
Hey, always good to see you. And everybody, thanks so much for listening. Check us out on YouTube, all your Instagram and all that stuff. But most importantly, just hope if you like the episodes and you listen and you like listening to us talk, please share it. Tell somebody else about it. Maybe they'll like it too. So
They probably will.
They probably will. And they're going to come to you and say, you know what? You're the best person I know. You just like what you did to fill that time that I had. It's just impact my life. And you have you've changed someone's life.
Yeah.
It could be life changing. So, hey, you want to do a solid to somebody? Share the episode.
Change somebody's life.
On that note, I will see you next time, Asante. Peace.
Peace.
All right, that was good.